Track, but Republicans very much favor a strict father model to conservative mindset, and what that means is that if the child does not prosper, they are not disciplined. It is really a hierarchy of man over women, a boss over employee, and that's why it's not surprising that when all the FBI stuff came up with James Comey, a lot of conservatives sat back and said, well, what's the problem? Trump's his boss. He should be allowed to fire whomever he wants. And so having the understanding that that is how Republicans are wired really helps us understand how things go in their brain. And then a lot of this also isn't surprising that there's in-group nurturance within the conservatives, be it the military, church, community, and finally a responsibility of person and not society. And so a lot of that goes back to the polling that we've done over the years, where we see people wanting government to help create jobs but then get out of the way because they think it's people's personal responsibility and not society's to lift people up. And so the other mindset is just the fear that they instill in the words they use, because fear really does bring people to want that strict father figure. So we've heard Trump say the murder rate is so high. Radical Islamic terrorists, rejection of immigration ban puts us all at risk. Make America great again, which means it's not already great. These fear tactics are what Republicans use to make people want a strong, strict father figure in elected positions. And so it's something that I think that those who have taken psychology understand, but we have to think of it in terms of politics and the messaging that we do to our voters. Because the great thing about the work that we do in our profession is we do a lot of direct mail where we can change the messaging. We do a lot of digital advertising where we can put messages in front of people that they're most likely to adhere to. Now, when we think about the progressive mindset, it's much more of a nurturing mindset where being cared for and cared about matters. Nurturing teaches self-discipline. Government is there to protect and regulate, assist those that are in need, and have empathy towards society. I think those are all a lot of fundamentals that we all share in this room, so I think we can understand that maybe more so than the Republican mindset. And working class mindset kind of falls somewhere in the middle, where they do believe strongly in personal responsibility versus handouts, and they may resent forced interference. And we saw this when we talk about the forced Buy American or having regulation in place. There may be a feeling of superiority, there may be some resentful towards elites saying that everyone should go to college, we talked about that, and resentment towards political correctness as a whole. Again, makes sense when you think about all of the working class voters who shifted from Obama to Trump. They liked the fact that he was very resentful towards political correctness. And so having that understanding, I think we also need to understand how people make decisions, both in the voting booth and in life in general. And this has really changed a lot, and this comes from a study that Google did that I think is really fascinating. If you think back to before the internet was prevalent, whether it was going to the grocery store and making a purchase or going to the voting booth and choosing who you're going to vote for, basically you made those decisions based on information that you received. So a TV ad, a newspaper article, a direct mail piece, anything that radio, anything that was coming at you is what you listened to and what you saw that would inform your decision. And so when you would go to the voting booth or to the store, they call it the first moment of truth. It's when you decided what you were going to do. If you were going to pick Heinz ketchup over a different ketchup, if you were going to select candidate A or candidate B, you took in messages, you made your decision, and then at the end of the day, you left the store, you left the voting booth having an experience that you probably shared with someone. I went and voted for candidate X because of this reason. I bought Heinz ketchup because of this reason. So that was what happened in people's minds. They took in information, they went to the store, they went to the voting booth, they shared the experience with others. The internet has changed all of that, because now people do get that information from TV, from the radio, from the mail, but they do their own research, and they do a whole lot of research. Think about the last time you went on a vacation, or bought a car, or bought a TV. Did you just look at newspaper ads, or did you go and look at reviews? Or did you talk to other people, or did you post something on Facebook saying, hey, has anyone bought a good TV lately? There are so many other ways to do this research now that it changes the entire dynamic of how decisions are made, and it really affects when we have to start talking to people about elections. And so now, here's a great example. When you look at all the points of information that people do self-research for, you can see here that when someone is going to book a vacation, they use over 10 points of data on average before they make a decision to book a vacation. When they're buying a car, 18 different sources of data they use that they go and search on their own before making that decision. And you can see voters is almost 15. So people who do vote are taking it seriously, and they're not believing everything that comes at them. They're doing their own research. Now, could they be doing research on websites that aren't exactly honest? Of course. But they are proactively doing their own research. So it really changes the entire dynamic of how elections work. And I think we have to understand that. It's not just about messages that we get to people, it's the research they're doing. So I really suggest that no matter what level you're a candidate running on, you should have a good website with information. You should have a Facebook page because people are going to search it out. And so you have to have information for them to find and to think through before they make that decision. So I think that's important for us to understand. So some conclusions before we wrap it up. We are going to wrap it up. We are speaking a different language than Republicans in a lot of cases. And we do understand how the other side thinks. We know what issues that we can use. And we've done this work over time. And that's why we're sharing some of this with you today. Like I said, there's a whole trove of data that the state party has access that we've shared. So we're starting to see ways to make sure that we can communicate more effectively and use messages that these voters respond to. We need to make sure that we put faces and voices of working class people out there as candidates. The Vice Chair mentioned it in his fiery speech this morning. We need teachers, we need firefighters, we need rank and file workers, blue collar workers running for office. The more that we can put real faces and real voices, and it's no disrespect to elected officials, but those who are real faces and real voices are much more trusted by voters. And I'm a firm believer in very strong media strategies. I think the more that we can take things that happen in the State House and translate it to a local level with real people talking about how something impacts them, the better we can do. Understanding billion-dollar budgets, it's out of the realm of most people's thinking, including mine. But when you talk about the impact on a local school, a local hospital, someone's family, it really hits home. Because they may know those people, but they know they're from their community, they know they're real people just like them, and they're more likely to listen to them. And then finally, we've said it many times, no more or. We have to talk about all the different things that we can do and talk about getting working class voters out, and African Americans, and Hispanics, and Native Americans, and everyone else.